Hello everyone, welcome to Fiaura, and welcome to another Should You Buy. So this is a series of reviews about the premium vehicles, by the way, of Armored Warfare. And today we're looking at the M1134 ATGM. Now, I'm going to preface this with saying that if you've seen my Brutally Honest review series, you know I'm brutally honest about how I feel about vehicles. Or about anything that I review. I don't lie to you guys, I don't beat around the bush about it. But I will tell you that I am not going to lie to you. Nor am I going to be nice when it comes to reviewing these particular video game items, ranging from vehicle, anything you have to pay for, basically. So, all of that said is preference. I'm going to start this review off by letting you know right now I'm not a fan of this vehicle, and then I'm going to list all of the reasons why. Sorry about that. I'm dealing with talking to Silent Stalker. Now I will go offline and fix that problem. I do apologize. We'll probably edit this out. But anyway, the M1134 is classified a tank destroyer. However, it does have a surprise in that it has the AFV target designation ability. Interesting choice. And it does not have a gun. It is strictly a missile platform. Again, interesting choice. The armor is too thin, by the way, to stop anyone's gun. Even the Fox, or the, hell, I would dare say even the lo and behold, like the BMD2 or the AMX-10P might actually penetrate it. It's pretty thin. The composite plating is wonderful against shaped charges, but when I say wonderful against shaped charges, even at times 6 only provides 180 millimeters of protection, which, as we can see here on the armor scale, comes out to about 238. But at tier 7 heat shells hitting this thing, even with the ERA plating, they're going in. 437 pin on the high end. They're going in. On top of this, this vehicle must compete with the fact that it will face tier 8 and 9 as well as 7. There are numerous tier 6, 7, 8, and almost every single tier 9 vehicle that have active protection systems that destroy missiles. Just in its own tier, we have the BMD-3, the BMD-4. Both have APS. The Leopard 2 has APS. And then when we get into tier 8, almost every main battle tank has APS. Actually, I think every one of them but the Ariete has an APS system. And when you get to tier 9, every single vehicle but the Challenger 2 and the Crab have active protection systems. This does not bode well. The Crab and the Thunderbolt, excuse me. This does not honestly bode well for this vehicle so far. Now, its missiles do have massive penetration, but for a tier 7 missile, they don't hit hard enough. Even the Little Weasel's tow missile, if you decide to go that route, hits harder and reloads much quicker. So, take it with a huge grain of salt. Now, it has to compete against the LAV-600 and the legendary, in my opinion, Centauro 120, aka the Blunderbuss, for tank destroyer capability at its tier. So let's take a look. Now, obviously, the missile is going to have twice as much penetration as anything the Centauro can summon, but as you can see, the missile doesn't hit near as hard as the Centauro's AP round. Much less if my Centauro 120 hurled a heat shell at you with a damage potential between 744 plus, what is this, almost 13% extra damage. That's not insignificant. That puts this at an average of over 800, and I'm going to be shooting faster. Now, you do have you do have double the penetration. Fair enough, but you are firing a missile. Your missile also has a higher velocity than all other missiles. An advantage, yes, but not significant enough. It only has a 50% increased velocity in comparison to other missiles, and we all know missiles are relatively slow anyway. Twice the velocity might have warranted that being a true advantage, but otherwise, I don't feel it is. Now we get into the DPS section, and the ability of this thing to sustain damage on a target is not there against the Centauro 120 at all. Almost half the DPS of the Centauro 120, and over twice the reload time. So you will fire 2 missiles, and the Centauro 120 will put out 3 shots. Centauro 120 will have killed you. Your 2 missiles will definitely not kill the Centauro 120 most of the time unless you ammo rack it, and might not even penetrate it. Fair warning, you might hit a tire and the missile get absorbed. Let's keep going. Armor-wise, the Centauro 120 does have better armor against ballistics, has a better chance of bouncing those pesky autocannons, but doesn't have that composite plating to bounce the shaped charges. However, again, even with the composite plating, the shaped charge, everything you have going for you, the armor is still too thin to really stop anything that hits it. Even with 6.25 multiplier against equal tier cannons, they will easily penetrate through your ERA plating. This thing is only really capable of stopping tier 6 and tier 5 shaped charge rounds. Speed-wise, it's not as fast or as quick to accelerate as the Centauro, and it weighs less. So it's lost the speed category. It does, however, have the vision and camouflage category, and if you take advantage of the ability of it to mark targets, you take those extra 2 to 2.5 seconds to mark that target, you will do significant, you'll do max damage, which is just over 600. But I hate to do this, to illustrate just how weak that is. As far as a missile goes, the Bradley fires 2 missiles at a time, and will do just over 600 on a maximum damage roll. My Fox at tier 5 fires 2 missiles at a time, and will do 641 if I have a marked target with its current setup. That is a huge downfall. It's like firing a pair of Bradley or Fox missiles. They don't hit like freight trains. And one of the things about tank destroyers with long reload times is you want to hit like a freight train. On top of the fact that your first missile, in most cases, particularly against higher tier vehicles, is going to be a dud. It's going to get shot down by an APS. And if there's a cluster of tanks you're firing into who all have APS, they'll be shooting down your missiles for each other. So your first 2 to 4 missiles might not do anything, and you've only got 30 of them. You will run out of ammo with this vehicle in a prolonged fight. Fair warning. It's not like the swing fire where you can just spam away. You will actually physically run out of bullets. But it does have better camouflage and view range than the Centauro, especially with this setup of an extra technology slot diverted specifically to view range, as well as a technology slot taking place here, because I didn't see any sense in reload modules since they mostly apply to non-missile weapons. I just gave it extra. This is flat out extra damage mode, and it still is only putting out 580. I mean, this is the best. I have played with this so long. I have spent 20 million credits on fitting it with different fittings, and this is the best set of fittings I could come up with for this vehicle. Depression does matter here in the fact that you are on a true turret with your missiles. Your missiles will aim up and down, so that's good. The turret traverse, it leaves much to be desired, especially since there's no real weight there to traverse. It's very slow. And the wait time for the missile is 1.5 seconds as opposed to 2 seconds. Slight advantage, but you can't fire on the move. Once this vehicle is spotted or engaged, it is pretty much, it has to get out of there, and it can't continue firing while it does it. And you just have to hope that you can outrun what's chasing you. Anytime you get at short range with the M1134, you're doomed. I'm just going to say it now, you're doomed. Moving on to compare it to the LAV-600, which was not as preferred to me as the Centauro 120 because the LAV-600 just doesn't seem to pack that massive tank destroyer slap. It does still have twice the penetration. But again, it's a shaped charge. A lot of things have the ability to shoot down missiles. I mean, you really have to take it with a grain of salt. Damage per minute, it doesn't have it. It definitely just doesn't have the damage per minute to keep up with most vehicles. You are truly a pure support vehicle, and a lot of the times I feel like taking this vehicle into a match, I'm penalizing my team. Just the damage per minute and only having 2 missiles, one of which I usually know when I fire it is going to get shot down before it gets to the target. I can't say that enough. I don't mean to be so negative, but I'm being as honest as I can and as truthful as I feel about it. Now, it does have the same top speed as my LAV-600 and a slightly worse acceleration, despite the fact I've given the Striker, in this case, an acceleration module specifically. Worse camouflage value than the LAV-600, better view range. But then again, I had to equip this thing for view range to take advantage of that mark capability, and as you can see with the LAV-600, I don't have that option. So, take it for what you will. This is a heavily augmented view range. If I take off the augmentation of 7.5%, 30 meters, and I believe Sabrina's additional, what is this, 40 meters, this thing has less than 400 view range base. This is heavily augmented to get this view range. And less than 400 meter view range, we're getting into main battle tank territory for view range capabilities. Even the Leopard 2 and the Abrams could compete with it for view range if you don't heavily augment the view range. And the last thing you want is something to sneak up close to you. You will get massacred almost every time. It does have better gun depression, but you also have to remember these are missiles. I can fire it up into the air and divert it down. So the gun depression, while it's good, I always take it with a grain of salt because to me it's not going to make a huge difference since it's a missile. I can fire it up and then guide it down to the target. Turret traverse is worse than the LAV-600's, but it does have a quicker wait time than the LAV-600's aim time. Same thing with the Centauro. So, what I feel like we have at the end of the day is an unarmored, subpar, armored fighting vehicle. Not a tank destroyer. That's what this thing feels like. It does not have the option for a cannon. And as we have shown time and again, unless you're willing to platoon with people who are going to coordinate with you, the swing fire on its own is not great. But together, the swing fire is amazing. This is truly a pure support vehicle. You cannot carry your team with it, and you cannot function without teammates. As it stands, as of patch 0.14. And you have to, you really, honestly, if you want any survival chance, you have to just spend to get your view range as far as possible. So, I recommend, there's only one commander that fits into this vehicle, and as much as I want to shove Carlos in this thing and gear him up for missiles, without Sabrina, this vehicle would just suffer and die. You wouldn't be able to spot anything, and you would easily be able to be outspotted. I want a note here that this camouflage factor is with Sabrina increasing its camouflage. I don't have it painted. So you could get its camouflage up to 30.5%. But that is not good enough for a vehicle that has to rely on keeping the enemy at a distance. As we've seen with the swing fire, whose camouflage rating is one of the best, if not the best in the game, the swing fire's camouflage goes all the way up to 42.35% without being painted. You could, in theory, get this thing close to 45 to 50% camouflage. So, if you're going to go missiles only, you need to be stealthy. In addition to this, missiles pack the biggest penalty for camouflage rating when you fire them. You will almost every time when you fire that second missile be spotted in your position, and you still have to guide that missile in, which means any severe movement of your vehicle is going to throw that missile off. Just thought I'd warn you. I really feel like the missile velocity needs to be increased. The missile clip size should be 4, because there are a lot of vehicles that can mount 4 missiles at tier 7+, and this only mounts 2. And since it goes missiles only and has no autocannon. I either feel that it should have an autocannon or a light cannon similar to the Bagel Panzer's cannon on the opposite side of the turret, or you should go with a quad missile design. Crew-wise, this is the shitty part. Smooth ride doesn't affect you. You can't fire on the move with missiles. Battering ram is a terrible idea. You barely weigh 14 tons. The only options you have here are off-road driving and spin it to win it. These are the only two that will really apply to your vehicle. As far as the gunner is concerned, only one gunner skill matters. Do the twist. The marksman skill doesn't matter. You're shooting a missile. Quick draw doesn't matter. You're shooting a missile. You can't decrease the aim time of missiles unless you have a specific ability from a commander to do so, and it only applies from that commander. Your gunner's quick draw won't help you. Shoot from the hip doesn't matter. You can't fire when your accuracy is at the minimum. You have to wait for it to completely settle. Loader, rapid fire does matter. I would equip it, and explosive shells, because you want your missiles, since your missiles already have a higher than normal crit chance, you want to take maximum advantage. But I really feel like there's no skills for missiles. Now that I've had to play this vehicle quite a bit to get this review for you guys, there's no skills for your crew for missiles that are missile-centric. They just don't exist. And I don't know if they're going to add them, but as far as I'm concerned, this is a severe penalty for this vehicle. Ammunition, you get one choice. 30 tows. Take all 30, you're going to need every one of them. Consumables, standard consumable loadout, I recommend. However, you can replace the medical kit for an energy drink. It's perfectly acceptable. I wouldn't even blame you if you wanted to increase your view range that much more, because that's the one thing keeping you alive, is a really jacked up view range. So if you wanted to do that, I wouldn't blame you at all. It would be understandable, and since this is a premium vehicle, you would make your money back every time. The defect with that being, of course, once a crew member goes down, they're down. However, I feel like once you're being shot at in this vehicle, you've pretty much already lost anyway. So, losing a crew member at that point isn't going to make a hell of a difference to whether you win or lose. Once you're under attack from this vehicle, you're pretty much dead. Retrofits. Your universal slot must be taken. You have to put in that intercom system, because otherwise you're not going to have the extra view range that you need. And you have to put augmented optics. You're going to be using 2 technology pieces here in order to get your view range up to what I have mine at, in hopes that you can do some self-spotting and keep the enemy far enough away when you fire your missiles you're not going to reveal yourself. Also, since you do have the AFV spotting ability, this is by far the only way to really take advantage of it. I have tried using this vehicle with 2 firepowers. I've tried using this vehicle as a reload-centric, as a damage-centric firepower. It didn't work. I tried using multiple mobility retrofits. I found they didn't help very much, and anything that increases hull traverse, like all-wheeled vehicles currently in the game, anything that increases hull traverse makes the vehicle nigh uncontrollable. And I felt like adding armor was pointless, because as soon as I was engaged, almost every single time, that was it. As soon as I was engaged at close range, I was dead, and there was no stopping it. Plus, my already low hit point count I could only increase my hit points to 1,700. Which, to illustrate how low that is, the Centauro with no armor retrofit has the same hit points I do, but has a gun. The BMP-3 with its armor retrofit has more hit points than I do, and would have more hit points than I would with an armor retrofit. It's an AFV, a much smaller vehicle at that. And I can cite this one more time, the BMD-4 with an armor retrofit has almost as many hit points as I do. I really don't feel like an armor retrofit's going to save you or help you. I did try it out some with an armor retrofit and just found that the armor retrofit was not providing enough extra hit points to make a difference. Not to mention, if I lose a tire, there's 8 tires. I really don't care if I lose a single tire. So, we're going to go look at some gameplay of this. I'm going to commentate over it. I'm going to do a PvE match with it to show you guys everything that I know about this vehicle. And at the end, you will hear my final verdict. I already did a should you buy on the VFM Mark V, and my final verdict was, if you're looking at getting a light tank, get the VFM Mark V. Let's see about tank destroyers. Alright everyone, so it took me a while to get a good replay that I felt would really show off the capabilities of the vehicle. Now, something to take into account with this vehicle is it is fast. You do get a smoke grenade. You do get your own active protection system, which makes 1134 fights very interesting because you both know the first missile fired at each other is not going to do anything. But I felt like this would show off the flaws and capabilities of this vehicle at the same time. As you can see, I'm on Lost Island. I've moved up into this position as kind of a support / spotter. That's about what you can do with it. And I spot the Leopard 2 AV. Congratulations to me. I'm sitting right here waiting on a target. Because you can't be aggressive with this thing. You just can't. You have to rely on your teammates for the aggression. And with our VBL drowning himself, that's not good. I fire smoke to try to get out of the spot of the weasel, because the weasel saw me. And it's not entirely going to save me. Hi, Artie. I don't know how he managed to track me like that when I was invisible. But he sure as hell is trying. Now the good news is that this thing does have tandem ERA, which means that high explosive rounds may or may not destroy your ERA plating. The bad news is you only have missiles and you can't be aggressive. Now I'm open up at this Leopard 2 AV. I get one hit. You see how fast this missile covers almost 500 meters. It gets there. The problem, of course, being that you only have missiles. And you saw just how long it took me to reload those missiles. Yes, I did over 1,000 damage. That is the potential here. Now, I got lucky that this BMP-3 did not have his active protection system. Otherwise, I'm certain that that missile should have been destroyed before it got there. And I start my reload while I move up. Because not having 2 in the barrel is a bad thing. Now here, I can outspot this T-80 from a country mile. So I mark him and then let loose. There's one hit, second missile doesn't hit. Fair enough. My camouflage value is cut in half from firing those 2 missiles. So when I fire this third missile, barely in time to get it there in the mark, I not only miss, but I get spotted. And then the VBL comes up behind me. And that worries me. Now you're about to see at close range that this thing is not very good. As I go to spot the T-80 again, I let loose with 2 more missiles, both of which hit, doing well over 1,000 damage very quickly. But now I've got 13 seconds, I'm helpless, and I see the machine gun fire raining out from that VBL over to my left. And I decide that after he starts shooting me that I need to engage him. Now he's shooting me with high explosive incendiary, which is not his best option. He should be shooting me with armor piercing. He keeps pumping it into me. I drive right up here and I'm going to take some hits to do this. But I do take him out with a missile. If he had been moving at any speed, however, I doubt I could have done that. Or if I hadn't pinned him in such a way that he was stuck there. Now as you can see, my team is dying. And being in a tank I can't be an aggressor in or a leader in means that I cannot carry this team. And I know it. I'm purely a support vehicle. Once the team starts dying, that's it. I've done over 3,000 damage already. As you guys have seen from the stat numbers flying above people's heads. But at this point, not going to happen. Now I turn to fire at this VBL. And the first missile actually got shot down, and the second missile simply doesn't go low enough. It actually got shot down by that Bradley from behind the rock somehow. And once you're at close range, you're dead. It's that simple, guys. This vehicle cannot perform on the battlefield very well in its current state. And I've given Obsidian my critique of it. I've told them why I feel this way. And I've given them suggestions to fix it. But at the moment, this is a do not buy. I'm going to make that clear now before we go into the PvE section. This is a do not purchase until we see a major change to how this vehicle functions. Because right now, it kind of sucks. Which there's no kind of to it. It does suck. So, let's go take a look at the PvE section of this video. So here we are in the PvE section of this video. Now, we are on hard. It is Operation Anvil. As you can see with the rewards, you know this is hard mode.
Have liberated the port and 2 cargo ships.
Right.
Please take back control of the port area so civilian shipping can resume. There are also SAMs in the area.
Now, I know for a fact I need to only expose my turret where possible since it's so high mounted, and I need to avoid direct contact. Let's mark target. Didn't quite mark, but we delivered the hits. Let's actually mark that Ariete if we can.
Bradley, requesting fire at target.
Got him marked. He's moving out of our line of sight. I can't actually shoot him from here. And again, I have to stay back. I know that for a fact. I cannot get close to any targets or I am going to get ripped a new one. And that's why I feel like this is a penalty to take this on a mission, because you are penalizing your team with a vehicle that can't get close. That's the next thing. APS systems are the bane of your existence, and even shooting at the side of the turret, there's a chance you'll hit the commander's hatch and do almost nothing. And of course I'm being fired upon now.
Target hit.
And yeah. The alpha damage of the missiles leaves a bit to be desired, I must say. Making sure I'm going to fire over this rock.
No ban.
Of course I could hit the rock. And move to the next rock.
Hostile tank.
I really don't understand the thought process behind adding this at tier 7. No shot. No shot. I can't move in to actually engage at close range, and I know it. I'm purely a support vehicle. So here we go. I'm going to target this Leopard 2 AV, get him marked, and fling the missiles in. That's the max damage of these missiles. 668 at tier 7. The damage individual shots of an LAV 600 or a Centaur 120 will do more damage. And I'm relying on these guys to not die. Like, I'm 100% relying on them to stay alive. Because I know the moment that they're dead, this is over. Because there's no way I can carry with this thing. Except by sitting at extreme range and hoping that the AI is dumb enough to let me do that.
Direct hit.
But there are more SAMs out there, and we can't send special forces in until they are all...
That's about your average. 1120 is about the average for a clip of missiles from this thing. And then you're stuck here for 13 seconds. At tier 7, unable to continue fighting. I just can't... I know I'm being really harsh against it, but I can't justify this. And now I'm spotted. So now I know I'm moving into the danger zone because I'm getting spotted. I think the LAV 600 bumped into me, which is why I had to re-aim. If somebody bumps you, yeah, your missiles go. You have to re-aim your missile. It starts over. And that 1.5 aim time doesn't start until I come to a complete stop, so there's no snapping your shot to get kills. And of course, everyone else's rounds travel faster. So, if you've noticed, I fired half of my missile load and only half of the shots I fired have hit because I keep hitting dead targets, or they keep getting, or they get shot down on the way there. I don't have a kill yet. And of course, because this main battle tank won't get off of me or push forward, I get nailed. And I have to move to this range to engage right now. That is the part I am not enjoying at all, is that I have to move this close to even have a shot at these guys, so they have a shot back. That's my first kill. I fired 20 missiles to get my first kill. 12 have hit the target. And that was a low roll, which means not a kill. I've noticed distinctly with these missiles, there is often the case of low rolls. Very low rolls. It doesn't seem like they want to particularly give you high rolls with missiles, and oh shit, I'm about to take a shitload of damage. Nothing I can do about it. I am now dead.
Here they come.
I need to get out of here. Come on, drive. And this is how slow it accelerates. That is how slow this thing accelerates. I have not even hit 60 yet on a road. Once you get at close range, you're dead. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you make a mistake and you get too close, you're gone. It takes way too long for this vehicle to get up to speed, to get out of dodge, when it has to stay at strictly long to extreme ranges to engage its enemies. And as you can see, the team has fallen apart and died. I'm on my own now. Thankfully, my missile will one-shot the artillery. And hopefully I will get the paladin as well before he notices me. And of course, the missile doesn't do enough damage. I only have 28 missiles left because I had to use my my full resupply kit just to survive. I might have been better off just letting myself die and then respawning. That's another thing. No respawn kits from any of you? That's fucking cheap. Wow, guys. That's dirt cheap. It's 20,000 credits. Pay the bill. Come into PvE with no respawn kits.
Identify.
Tank.
I can't see him. I'm this close and I can't see a main battle tank who's moving. I'm that fucking close and I can't see a moving main battle tank. That's terrible.
Identify.
Tank.
And I'm relying on this view range for survival. I mean, I'm not one to give up, but I know for a fact that this is a very bad situation for me to be in. I'm getting outspotted by main battle tanks and light tanks. Just flat out. All that view range increase and I'm still outspotted. There are no AFVs on the enemy team, according to the map.
Tank.
There are no AFVs on that team, according to the map.
Penetrated. Target eliminated.
But here I am, outspotted.
Tank.
And this T-90MS is not going to show me any mercy.
Target lock. Requesting fire. Missile destroyed.
APS.
Direct hit.
Come on, reload.
Ammo up.
Identified.
Hostile tank. Target down.
I'm literally just hoping the inaccuracy of their guns won't let them hit me right now. I got, 18 missiles. And they all bailed.
Ammo up.
Identify target.
Hostile tank. Target hit. No effect.
I'm probably going to have to launch... Actually, we could max the damage and we might get a kill.
Identified.
Hostile tank. Red light requesting fire at target. Good hit. Target down.
Got rid of him. Now I need to get rid of this T90MS that's spotting me. I got 14 missiles left. It's going to take about 2 per enemy vehicle. And I got about 3 enemy vehicles left.
Identify target. We're ahead.
Shit! Make that more than 2.
Target destroyed.
That Abrams is probably going to be the death of me. If I am completely honest. Now the missile's too fast for me to fire it over there, but I could fire it up and try to guide it down. I don't think I'll be able to get that though.
Ground destroyed.
How unfortunate. Seems that Fiaura
APS.
controls shipping in this area for a
That
while.
T90M, that fragile T90MS destroyed a total of 3 of my missiles. What are you going to do? That's why this sucks. You cannot bypass the APS systems with sheer volume of missiles. You automatically know the first one out of the chamber against higher tier vehicles is going to do nothing. That is terrible, Obsidian. At tier 7, this vehicle is god-awful. For what you get and what you have, it is absolutely terrible. It is unable to even spot main battle tanks with all of the extra spotting equipment I've given it. At 80 meters, I could not see that Abrams until he fired. I'm going to show you just how bad that is before we close out this review. This is an M1A1 Abrams. Camouflage value, 4.5%. At 80 meters, I could not see through the bush to detect that Abrams. 80 meters. And it's not because of the view range issue. This is your spotter. This command hatch right here is your spotting area. Your entire turret has no spotting whatsoever. It has no spotting point. Which means that I can have this thing out and I can't see anything, but I can be detected. Until this commander's hatch can draw a clear line of vision from you to the target, you can't see the target. That's terrible. With no elevated commanding spotting position, that means you have to expose most of the hull. Or have it so that there's a rock right here along this entire side of your tank that doesn't cover the command hatch but covers the tank in order for you to spot. This is just terrible. Do not buy is the final verdict. Don't do it. It's not worth your money, it's not worth the pain, and you will not end up playing it very often. I had to grind this thing for well in excess of 100 battles to get this review footage. 100 battles of PvE before I finally was ready to go into PvP. I ground for 2 weeks on this vehicle. That's why it's taken me so long to get this review out. I've earned a total of 161,941 reputation in it, and all of it was painful. It's not worth it. It just isn't. I can't justify the purchase of this under any condition. And how much is it in... Is it here? Yeah, it's right here. How much is this? What is the price tag on you? 5,500 gold? That's more expensive than any other premium vehicle currently in the game, and it's absolutely not worth it. There you go, guys. So, if you like this video or you found it helpful, hit the like button. I don't suspect many of you will, because some of you will be like, oh, it's a good vehicle. No, it's not. It's just not. There's too many active protection systems that fight it, and it has no armor. Tier 7, you need an option to have a cannon. End of the day. If you'd like to see the previous should you buy, it's right there. It's the VFM Mark V. I'm sure you'll appreciate that one. If you want to see more stuff by me, Fiaura, slap the subscribe button as hard as you can. Let Obsidian know that you like my content. And let me know. Also, hitting the like button does that too. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so with the Patreon, or you can click on the ad at the end of the video and go check out this video sponsor. In the meantime, from my house to yours, this is Fiaura, signing out for right now. Bye-bye, everyone!